All right, so last time we created the file structure. We didn't take a look at this, but we did most of it actually. I already deleted the default JSX content that was in app.jsx and the default styles in here. Um, we didn't create all the component folders, but that's fine. We can just do that as we go along. The first five will be immediate children of app. These two will be children of main. Okay, and this is what the header will look like. That's what we'll start with. We'll actually start a little bit with just get the outermost structure ready. So let's see, app.jsx. So as we've done before, we could have, well, we could call it page. I'm actually going to call it app is the class name I'm going to use because that will be a little more symmetrical with how we are writing styles. So if we any styles that we have would go to the app class there. Inside here, what will we need? Well, we're going to need our header component, and we'll need a main component and a footer component. Let's not worry about the other like the modals because they're outside of the basic structure. This is going to cause some errors if we go to the browser, unsurprisingly, because these things are not defined, right? So we need to create these components. Um, I'm already in the components directory, so I can do, let's see, there's a simple component. It should return, we can just have it return this for now, and then we should export it. Export default header. And you can just copy that, and we'll make use of it in some other places. We can just create an empty CSS file while we're at it. Main.jsx. And this is like what will be minimally necessary to prevent those errors. Well, the CSS file wouldn't be necessary in this case because we're not referring to it, but it's easy enough to create. So is that going to get rid of our error? The answer would be no, because yes, the components exist, but we're still not importing them into our project. So uh, why is it there? Did not save it. Okay, make sure errors are gone. Yep, no errors. Okay. So now we can just move into this header component and try to start piecing it together. here. So it includes, there's a logo, there's a date field, a button, a name, and an image. What I will often start with is just get something in place, the basic outline of the structure. Um, so I'm gonna start with a header because I mean that's what this is. Our we still need to use good HTML and give it a class of header. What did I do? Try to mark up the rest of this stuff. Why is it doing that? Yeah, that was just temporary. Try to mark up everything inside here. Use correct BEM class names and at least get the basic HTML and CSS done. You don't have to worry about getting the correct date set for now, but just worry about HTML and CSS, and or start with the HTML and then unpause the video. Well, so for a logo, we use an IMG. For the date, well, what would we use? MDN date HTML. So there's a date input, but that's not what we're looking for. There's a date time element. That might be what we would want to use. We can see. Otherwise, we might wind up just using a paragraph. But we could give this a try here. Time. And time. And then IMG header logo. Leave that blank for now. Header date time. So you see, this is a date. There's a month and a day. So, like this. Then after that, there is a place. We can just hard code that as a paragraph. Actually, what might even make more sense would be to nest this time inside it, like so, then have a comma there. Yeah, that might work. Let's see. That looks about right. Invalid DOM property. Yes, because we're using React. They like to change casing. Logo. Might as well grab that logo. Export. Make sure I got the right one. Why is it? Yeah, it looks right. PNG or SVG. Export. And I'll just drag this into my assets directory. I don't like using uppercase letters except in specific occasions in my file path, in my files. Do you remember how to set up the the images? Well, you import them, which is a little odd, but you import them and you give them a name. So like I could call this logo, and then from, oh dear, can't type, no. Let's see, so it's not in the parent directory. It's in the parent of the parent is where the assets directory is, then logo.svg. Then we can just insert it in curly braces, not in quotes. I think that's how we do it, right? Yeah, okay. It's in the wrong orientation, but that's fine. We'll deal with that. And I'll say WTWR logo. Now, we've got a button, we've got some more text, and we've got an avatar image. But also note that these are on in two different parts of the page. There's this group, then there's this group. So there are various ways that we could accomplish this. Like, we don't necessarily need to group elements on the left or the right, but because we could use like margin right auto to push all of these down. So in fact, let me see if there's a good reason to not group them. Trying to imagine how this would be set up. I don't see a good reason to not group these together. So we could group them together, but maybe I just won't. I think we can just use the margin right auto or margin left auto to push them, and that will be fine. So we can just do a button with class name header add garment button, add clothes. There's a plus. That looks like it's just a plus, not an icon. Yeah, there's no plus icon. So add close. Then a name, which I'll just go with a P, header, username, I don't remember the last name, that's fine. And avatar image. You're welcome to put anything in here. I mean, it doesn't matter right now. It'll eventually it'll vary, like the current user's name will display. So here we need another img, call it header avatar, and we will export. This can also be an SVG. And we'll just import it from the same location. I'll just do it like this. This is actually, it's going to be this person because it's his picture. something like that. There we are. Now back to the browser. All the elements are in place. They are going in the wrong direction though. So if you haven't already accomplished this, no, that's right. I told you just to do the HTML, right? Okay, so now is the time to do the CSS. The big thing is get it to be in a row instead of a column. And then, of course, get the spacing correct and all of that stuff. Give it a try, and then unpause the video, and I'll show you at least how I'm gonna, like I've done before, I'm gonna focus on the main details, but you might as well try to get all the details in order. I'm just gonna focus on the big picture. All right. Okay, so let me just refresh this. Yeah, it's always a good idea to try to refresh the console, make sure that the errors that you're seeing are old. If you're seeing errors, I'm on full screen, aren't I? I don't like full screen. I don't know how to. There we are. Okay, so let's get it in a row with the correct spacing. Hopefully, uh, what occurred to you is that I can probably use Flexbox for this somehow because that's what Flexbox is used for. Uh, Primarily, you turn columns into rows. That's like its first usage, and we should be able to do it by just turning um, the header into a flex container. We'll make it a row. Yep, just like that. To do space between, you might have thought to do this, justify content space between, but that does not have the desired effect. Now, as I was discussing, if we had I had mentioned that maybe we would want to group these together. If we had done that, then yes, we could have used space between here, but it won't work otherwise. So we will just use, as I hinted at earlier, um, let's just do it in here. Header.css. Header is a flex container. What we can do is we can apply margin left auto to the button. So header add close button, I think is what I called it. Margin left auto. And then we go here and nothing happens. So if you may have ran into the same issue, and one of the first things that you can do if you are adding styles and they're not doing what you think, what you should do is look at the element you're adding those styles to and check right here. If you do not see those styles being added, well, then that's the problem, that you're literally not applying the styles. And the first thing to check would be any necessary import paths. And indeed, there are no import paths because I forgot to do that. So import, and for CSS files, we just import them like this. No, there's no variable given to them. There we are. Look at that. So that's not too bad. Now, one thing, do you see how it just keeps getting bigger and spreading out further and further? That's not what we want. You have a very, very long monitor and everything is very spread out. That's no good. So we want to just restrict the size, and we're going to restrict it to, well, whatever it is here. If the screen gets bigger, the content is just going to stay in this area and it's going to stay centered. So this is similar to what we have done before in the previous projects on the page class. I'm going to be using this app class, And so margin 0 auto is what we can use to center it inside its parent container. And then we can do max width 1360, and that seems good. I will also add a small bit of padding while we're here just to prevent stuff from sticking. Padding 0.20 pixels. Yeah, okay. So that will do for the app component for now. Maybe adjustments will be needed later. We would put that here. This file already is being imported. Back to header. Well, I prevented stuff from sticking to the sides on the left and right. We should, make sure it doesn't touch the top. So what do we need there? We have a 32 pixel distance up here, and I'm going to use a padding on the top of the, I guess we could just use padding on this outermost element, the app. So we could have a 32 pixel padding up top here, and then a 24 pixel padding down below there. And what was I doing? Okay. So the top was 32 pixels. I'm going to leave the left and right at 20 pixels. I think that's fine. And the bottom is 24 pixels. All right, so now we've got some, maybe we should even, what's this distance? 40. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Change this to 40. Okay. So, I mean, we're getting pretty close, There are, of course, a number of details, one of which would be the distances between the elements. And there are a couple ways we could approach it. What I would start with is checking what are these distances. So here we've got 24 pixels. Here we've got 20, and here we've got 12. So we don't have, there's no way we could effectively use gap. So we would just have to give specific margins. So like for instance, margin right of 24 pixels on our header logo element. And it was 20 pixels on the right of this one. That'll work, right? Yeah, like that. We're not going to worry about when it gets smaller. That would be for later. And then it was 12 pixels between the name and the avatar. And I'm doing all of this on the right just so it's consistent. Header, username, 12. All right. So, like I said, the rest is details. I'm gonna leave it here, but the things that remain for you to focus on would be font styles, and the button in particular would be the things. Um, we will worry about them a little bit later. Let's go back to the well, the fonts we'll worry about a little bit later. I'll leave the rest of the CSS up to you. The only other thing that I want to cover now is getting this date object to work. So maybe some have tried it already, maybe some have not. If you have not, give it a try now. Try to figure it out just by reading through the docs here and playing around with it. But if you need help, you can check the hints toggle. Then unpause the video. Okay, so the current date can be generated using the date objects to locale string method. And there are a lot of different formatting options here. And it can be pretty tricky to figure out what you would need to use. And in fact, the thing that I am going to use, is it even here? Default. Hmm. Date strings can be difficult. Date.to locale string. Okay, so let's just try this. Go to the header component. Const now equals new date. So this should give us a current timestamp, and what we can try to do is now dot to locale date string parentheses locales is so I happen to know that you can put default here, which will use the default formatting for the current location. But then you can give some more specifics, which, let's see, does it show how to do that? The options object, this thing. So this is what it looks like. We could just pass an inline object here. But what do we want? We don't want the year, because remember, it's just month and day. Month long, is that what we want? I'm not sure if it even is clear enough about that, because that just says June. That might be the long month value, so we'll go with that. So month long, weekday, what are the options for weekday? See, if you hover over it, it'll often tell you what the options are. So these are the options. I'm guessing short is what we want. Oh no, we don't even want weekday, because that would be text. We want day, and we want it to be numeric, and it's not clear whether it should be 1 or 2 digits. 2 digits would mean 0 padded for single digits. So we'll just leave it as numeric. And now that I think about it, I would rather not inline that. And what we could just do is assign it to a variable, date string, and put it there. And the date time field, well, this I imagine we should put now in there. Let's go back and see what that looks like. Well, that is correct. That's exactly what it should look like. Pretty nice. And you see how the date time field has that official, the complete time that's associated with it, but this just lets us specify only show the parts that we want to. Okay, the header is mostly completed. You have some more work to do in terms of styling. We'll return to the header to make this thing open, to make the modal open. But otherwise, we're done with that. Join me next when we move on to the main component.